With 7 constructors' titles and 6 drivers' world championships, it was a sad day for motorsport when Team Lotus announced their departure from Formula 1 in 1994. 16 years on, however, Tony Fernandez has reignited the dream and returned the legend to the grid. Friday the 12th of February 2010 saw 5 months' hard work culminate in the launch of Lotus F1 racing at the Royal Horticultural Halls in London. The car was unveiled, the team introduced, and the future mapped out clearly and concisely by a man with what could be the Midas touch. It all started with an approach from Lightspeed team principal Nino Judge, as Malaysian entrepreneur Fernandez explained.
Nino Judge came to me with this idea. It was rejected by FIA. They were one of the first teams to put in an application. It was rejected, and Campos in US F1 and Mana at the time got the slots, and Nino didn't get the slot. He then approached me, and I said, well, let's give it another shot. That meeting that I went to Silverstone was to meet Max, and obviously when Max met me, he felt there was a little bit more meat behind the original Lightspeed. And when we put some of our plans together, he said resubmit. He was convinced that someone was going to drop out. It was a risk. You know, I would have ended up with lots of very expensive pictures if we didn't get the slot, and they weren't even nice pictures, by the way. But you know, you take your chances, and it was a chance we took. If we didn't start some of that early investment, we wouldn't have got the car to where we were. So it was Nino's original entry that was rejected. We then rehashed it and put it in together.
As one of 4 possible new starters in F1, the realistic aim, surely, is to be the fastest of that group. But what are the real possibilities, and what can fans expect from the Norfolk-based team?
Number one, I think we will be as a professional team in the way we look and the way we turn up to the Grand Prix. We'll be a proper Formula 1 team. And I hope this year will be the start of the building block. The important thing is to build a strong foundation. And we are under no aspirations that we're going to be up there competing with Ferrari or McLaren, etc. My first objective would be to be a car that is reliable. If we can finish every race, I think that would be a phenomenal start. If we then can, from that reliability, build into beating the new teams and maybe challenge some of the established teams, that would be also a great target. Look, we have shown our seriousness by signing 3 great drivers. We've got a good technical team. I think we've put out a good package out there. We're not here to come last every year. As a Lotus fan, you know, we're not going to be challenging the front this year. But I think within 3-4 years, we have the ability. Whether we do that, that's in our hands. But we're certainly here to be a serious team. And I think we've thrown the gauntlet down that we want to be serious by signing 2 good drivers, by putting together a very good package. And now, hopefully, we'll give Mike and his team the environment to be, you know, challenging out there. And I think that's something that's very important, which people have maybe missed the point. And what I was trying to say, I think Mike has said over and over again, it's fun to be back in Formula 1. And when I talk to Keith and all the other guys, they enjoy it. And I think that's what I've tried to do, keep it less bureaucratic. I came from the music business, and trying to get the best out of musicians is almost the same as trying to get the best out of these highly, you know, creative people. And I think we'll provide an environment where they can build a great car and grow from that.
So what about the rest of the crew? Known as the Rottweiler, technical director Mike Gascoigne has worked for the cream of Formula 1 elite, including McLaren, Jordan and Renault. Working tirelessly since September last year, he and the rest of the mechanics at RTN have managed to prepare a car and get it ready for Bahrain and the pre-season tests in Jerez. Speaking at the launch, I asked him if they had to compromise during the building process.
Inevitably there have been, because, you know, it's got to work first time, and you know, probably we need to take some weight out of some of the components. We made some design decisions very early on that we'd probably not want to go back on, but we want to refine. But I have to say, I think we've designed a very contemporary 2010 spec car. It's not out of date. It's very well designed. So I'm not worried. I think we've got a very solid base to build on.
It is history in the remaking. Tony's spoken a lot about how the atmosphere in the team, it just felt right. Do you think that's very important going through to the next season? Because that kind of seems the mentality that Brawn had coming into to the 2009 season?
I think, although it's a huge challenge to do it in the time, there's a great buzz about the factory, and I think even for myself, I'm 20 years in the business, and you get tired, and I've worked in big teams recently, and it's been very difficult, but it's great fun going into work every day. I feel like a teenager again.
And realistically, prospects for next year?
We'll be a very solid professional team, and we'll score some points, and we'll bring some surprises towards the end of the year.
Another member of the team with experience in one of the big names is former McLaren number 2 Heikki Kovalainen. With so many drivers changing places over the winter and the team merry-go-round in full spin, I asked him if he was excited about getting in the seat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a very busy time for the team the last 5 months, to put everything together, and not just to build a car, but actually put the whole team together. But it's starting to come together now quite nicely. We have every week, every day almost, new people arriving at the team, and I think in a few weeks' time we will have a very solid, strong team, and we can start put more performance in the car. But of course, the first thing is to get it on the track now, and I'm looking forward next week to give it a go.
Aim to be the best of the newcomer teams, and you've got a lot to prove perhaps for 2010, being with Lewis Hamilton at McLaren last year. How do you feel in the driver setup, and how do you feel as part of the team?
Yeah, I feel good, and of course, there are a lot to prove. Every year in Formula One, I think all the drivers have always things to prove. The previous results don't really count very much, and of course, I just keep working hard now and make sure that deliver better results and get everything out of the team regularly. That's the target.
And what would you like as a realistic sort of first lap on the track? What are you going to be looking for?
Well, I think the initial focus will be the reliability of the car, to see how everything works, that all the cooling and everything works fine. Engine gearbox is also new for us, so we need to gather a bit of data from them and get everything going. Then we start working on a setup, and also for me, it's a long time since I've been driving the car, so get back to it. It will probably take a couple of laps, but I would like to think that after first day it should be fine.
So let's raise a glass to Lotus F1 racing and a new partnership between Malaysia and Britain. A true great returns to the track, and the future looks bright. But let's leave the last word to team principal Tony Fernandez and how he sees the future of the sport.
I see opportunities when people don't see opportunities, and I think it's a fantastic time to come into Formula One, because I think it's not a global sport yet. You can have tracks all over the world, but it's still really a European sport. And having entries such as Lotus Racing with Malaysian backing, this year in Sepang it will be a record attendance. I have no doubt about it, because lots of Malaysians will come and watch. In the same way, when we sponsored a MotoGP 125 rider, it was the biggest attendance. And I always tell Bernie, I joke with him, I said, when you really have a global sport, Silverstone will be a night race, because you have 1 billion people watching it in Asia. As opposed to Sepang, and that will be when it is, and that's where I see the opportunity. The revenue they're getting is really primarily from Europe. America still is not really, North America hasn't worked yet, and Asia is a huge potential market, which is you've just scratched the surface.